I'm struggle streaming here. I'm getting blocked. I can't get in. Hey, yeah, 20 million people. Will y'all please log off so I can see the fight? So again, people are very frustrated with the quality of the stream. And then as far as the fight itself, most of the comments was, painful, certainly disappointing, boring, not what they were expecting, which is unbelievable to me because I thought most people in my friendship circle are rational, logical people. What were you expecting? I'm still to this day asking the question, what were you expecting in this contest? Where you have again, 58 is 58. This whole time, I never saw Mike Tyson spar. All you saw him do was hit, mitts with. That's all he did, or hit a heavy bag. Look, I can go. I got a speed bag and a heavy bag in my basement. If I put the gloves on, if I put the mitts on or whatever, I can show you some stuff. It's like, man, this guy's bad, dude. But I'm 55 years old, and there's no way I'm getting in the ring with a guy half my age. But somehow, some way, and I got to give credit to him. I don't see how he does it, but credit to the Pauls for convincing 60 million people to think that this would even be a contest where the majority of people were saying, yeah, I hope Mike goes in there and squashes him. And obviously, as I've been telling guys all the time, look, I tried to tell you that this wouldn't be worth watching.
I'm looking at the apparently the fight before with the women. Oh, Mr. Bennett, you on mute? Trey, can you hear Mr. Bennett?
No, I can't. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can. Brother Bennett, you're on mute.
He just. Mm-mm. Well, I just take over for Mr. Bennett since he seemed to have some technical difficulties going on, and they were saying that the Taylor and Serrano, uh, he just the Taylor and Serrano fight was the most viewed pro women's sports event in U.S. history. So maybe that's because it was on the heels of the Paul Tyson fight, but that was a major because that fight was exciting. Like Mr. Bennett was mentioning, the outcome, the results of it made no sense. But going to the Tyson, going going to the Tyson Paul fight, yeah, it was it was boring. The only thing Tyson was doing was just swaying back and forth for the most part of the fight. Um, that there was a tiny, I don't even say bit of action, but the only time he really threw, serious punches that appeared to be was like round one, maybe round two. But after that, he was just swaying back and forth the whole fight, and it was no action at all. As a matter of fact, during the fight, people started booing around round five. You can hear boos coming from the fans in attendance. But after the fight, the next day, Netflix came out with a statement. Yeah, they was happy. Cause I think a lot of times, because it was even with ESPN, and even if you have the bundle with the ESPN Plus, the Disney and Hulu and all that stuff, when they have their pay-per-view fights, you still have to pay. Netflix, it was basically all you had to. If you had an existing subscription to Netflix, you was able to watch the fight. And I'm kind of not really surprised with the buffering issues that they was having because I remember they had some. They tried to go live on a couple of shows that did not have the audience that this garnished with this fight, and they was having issues going live. So for whatever reason, Netflix they have trouble going live, and they came out with a statement after I believe the next day. They of course they was bragging about they happy about the numbers of people watching the 60 million. They was happy about that. And they was even saying that they was not expecting 60 million people, and they was putting their, their buffering servers and whatnot, making them overwork, putting them in overdrive. So if you was watching the fight, that's what kept happening. It just kept buffering and stopping and buffering, just overload on the servers. But they was proud of the 60 million that they have. Now, and I know we still talk about the fight, but just to give a heads up, I looked at this as kind of like a test drive, because this year, I don't know if it's the first time ever or it's the first time in a very long time, the NFL is going to have games on Christmas, both of which are going to be on Netflix. And if you now, last year for Thanksgiving, the Cowboys Commanders game, I think it averaged about 41 million viewers. That was with the Cowboys potentially going to the playoffs, and the Commanders at the time was the Commanders. They was doing nothing at the time. This year, after two games, one of them, actually all four teams have playoff aspirations. The first one, the Steelers and the Chiefs, which I believe may be the highest one because it's the earlier part of the day. And the second game is the Ravens Texans. By that time, people will finish eating. They may be getting sleepy, or who knows. But that first one, I believe, has a chance of touching the 50 million mark because it's Christmas. It's a Wednesday, which is weird. And if you go to the schedule, all four of those teams play on Saturday, but it's different. KC will be playing Houston and Baltimore. It's something like that. They playing each other, and then all of a sudden they flip-flop and play each other on Christmas. But anyway, NFL came out with a statement today. It was reported that after this whole fiasco and buffering issues that was experienced during the fight, NFL reached out to Netflix and basically told them to straighten up. Hey, we not going to be expecting this during our games, are we? Because NFL has money. You mess around, I can imagine. See, it's one thing for them to have these type of technical issues, and it's just us, the fans, really complaining about it. When you have this mega machine known as the NFL, and all these other streaming devices, a lot of the games they want to go streaming, and they chose you to host these Christmas Day games, and you have this buffering issue going on. Oh, they have enough money to just buy you out the contract and go somewhere else. They say, we're not going to deal with you. So that's why I look at it as a test, because a big thing is going to come on Christmas Day when the NFL games come on Netflix, and I can just imagine it. It's a whole different crowd that was watching this Tyson Paul fight. It's a whole different crowd, and they are louder. And if they watch some games and they have all hell gonna break loose. So yeah, it was a bad fight coupled with technical difficulties that was just frustrating throughout the night. But I guess the only good thing about it, if you already had a Netflix subscription, I guess it was free if you look at it that way. So I guess you got your money's worth.
Coach, I don't know if you had a chance to watch the fight. What were your impressions of the event?
Man, when I knew that they was gonna fight, I was like, man, let me tell you something. I just started thinking about myself. Somebody half my age hit me, they gonna pay me for the rest of their life. And actually put myself in a position where I'm gonna be exchanging blows for a few rounds. Nah, I'm too old for that shit. Mike Tyson's older than me. There's no way. If I fall right now, my whole body will hurt. You know what I'm saying? So salute to Mike Tyson. I hope it was worth it. I hope this is also his last fight ever. But I don't know, man. Jake Paul, he's making his money. I wonder if somebody that looked like me could get out there and challenge people like that. But yeah, I did see the Mike Tyson's cheeks clearly though. There was a clear shot that they showed for that.
Bonus footage.
You got to be able to pew.
So
bonus footage, man.
I don't know, man. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I think everybody's starting to come out now and want to challenge him. So it's going to be interesting to see who his next opponent is. You know, but just like Larry Holmes and Muhammad Ali, he's too old, man. So.
Yeah, and I saw, Muhammad Ali's last fight against obviously Larry Holmes and Trevor Berbick. And again, you just don't want to see greats just go out like that, or have the embarrassment like that. But I'm just trying to understand, because one thing you said, Shawnee, is that you said the NFL is expecting 50 million viewers, but again, 60 million tuned in for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still just trying to understand the dynamic of this crowd. Who is it that Jake Paul is drawing? Because it's almost like this is like WWE crowd. I mean, I've gone to WWE matches. I've seen that audience, and it's definitely very hype. It's definitely a much broader crowd. It's probably as raucous, if not more so, than going certainly to an NBA game or possibly even an NFL game, in terms of the crowds that they're able to get. But it just seems like, that audience that they're able to draw. Because again, any serious boxing fan that I know, that's why I was kind of disappointed even with Teddy Atlas and these guys having preview shows of the fight. I'm like, this fight isn't even worth your putting your dignity to even look at this thing, and you're adding credibility to it when there really wasn't any. So I'm still blown away by the numbers. Yes, I understand it's free, but still, I'm just hoping that people pay attention again to real boxing. I mean, you had the rematch of Tyson Fury and Usyk. The rematch is December 21st. I mean, that's certainly a fight worth your interest. The last fight was definitely a slobber knocker. I mean, definitely a knockdown drag out. So again, that to me, that's really where I think you need to certainly invest your time and your money. Support the real boxing. But it's interesting. I mean, Tyson built his career on boxing. And yet he has to share it with a guy who has no interest in fighting anybody legit. So again, I'm like, okay, well, who's his next opponent going to be? I heard, he's trying to call out Canelo Alvarez or someone like that. Again, even I would still pick Canelo to beat him. But that being said, Jake Paul weighing in about 230, and Canelo fights at 175, probably walks around 195, 200. So again, he's not looking to fight anybody of any kind of caliber in his fights, and yet he's beat up basketball players, he's beat up all kinds of over the hill MMA players and over the hill MMA over the hill boxers, and and then you had Francis Ngannou. Yes, he certainly scored a surprise knockdown against Fury, but then he got destroyed by Anthony Joshua, who's not necessarily got the toughest chin in the world, and got brutalized in that fight. So again, these intermix matches, MMA versus boxing, and all these kind of sideshows that they want to put on, I don't think it helps either sport. They're separate lanes that these guys operate in, and I really wish that they would just stay in them. But I just don't see any appeal outside of the carnival that these things tend to draw. But again, I hope Tyson got paid. I heard something on it. He made on the end of like 20 million. So again, hopefully
he got 20 mil, and Paul got 40.
Yeah. So again, hopefully that'll help out Mike and his. I know he had some tax problems for a long time, and hopefully he's able to straighten a lot of that out. And just be remembered for the legend that you were and are, but there's no reason for you to think you have to go in there against guys and tarnish your reputation. But that's all. Certainly want to say on that. But again, as boxing comes up, like I said, the next major card, December 21st, rematch Usyk and Fury. I know Tank Davis fights in March, but again, as we get closer to major fight dates, as always, I will highlight the fights that you guys need to be watching. And or certainly those fights that are worth your time. No, I would not, because Paul outweighs Tank by 100 pounds, and he's probably about 6 inches taller than Tank. So no, I mean, there's weight divisions for a reason. And so just again the sideshow and the spectacle, it just doesn't fly. And again, even though as talented as Tank is, again 100 pounds is 100 pounds, and I just don't see Tank getting in there with the guy. Nobody wants to see that. If you want to be serious, fight a top level amateur. You got national Golden Gloves champions, U.S. boxing champions, Olympic competitors. There's all kinds of people you could be fighting if you truly want to be a legitimate boxer. So again, get in with somebody like that and see how you would fare. The only guy who even has half a boxing resume, which isn't great, was actually Tyson Fury's nephew, and he lost to him. And so, now he's saying Wilder. I don't want to see Wilder either also. I mean, Wilder got knocked, silly against Zhao Li Zhang in his last fight. He don't need to be taking punches either. Now, again, he's he's actually lighter than Paul. He fights around 215, 220. And, certainly that would be, I would say, more competitive. But again, I don't want to see him in there either. I think these guys, how many times are you going to see a guy get in when you know that in fact, the last 3 fights that Wilder was in, knocked out cold by Fury. Then, he got soundly beaten by this Polynesian fighter. And then, how about Jackie Chan? Yeah. Look, bring them all up. Yeah, 70-year-old Jackie Chan. Yeah, I'm sure he's calling for him.
Now you got 2 celebrities boxing, so
exactly. So again, I'm sure the Pauls are going to try to make the biggest spectacles that they could try to make. I'm sure they'll be looking to do that. I'm just waiting to see, get Roman Reigns in there, get a WWE wrestler in there, get AJ Styles or someone like that, the guy Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, and I'm sure that they would garner a lot of money if they put that on. But I'm a boxing fan, and so I want to see real fighters who are trying to. No, I would not. I'm not watching any. I am not supporting any Canelo fights. Any Jake fights in the future until he shows me he can fight someone your own size, fight someone in your own bracket, and show that you're serious about trying to compete. As a follower, but no, I'm done with the exhibitions, and I'm done with the sideshows. So, but with that, we can certainly move on. I know in the college scene, just wanted to touch on that real quick. So again, the college rankings are out. So again, not a ton of not a few spots. Although Oregon had almost upset, they had a tough game in their last contest, but they still hang on to number 1. Not a lot of surprises there, but as usual, Georgia moves up 2 spots, so they're considered back in the dance. When they were kind of on the outside looking out, they moved up 2 spots to number 10. You got Alabama moved up 3 spots to number 7. And so I like, as I was saying, I think they're going to rig this thing. They're going to put the best possible odds to make sure that Georgia and Alabama are in the dance, and hoping that somebody like an Indiana loses or whatever, because again, nobody wants to see necessarily a national championship game with Indiana, or not even Notre Dame, because Notre Dame, every time they've even tried to get up in there, they've proven to be overinflated just based on their record. But any comments, guys, from any of the games that took place over the weekend? We also saw Colorado moved up a spot again, so they're still on the outside looking in. They're still going to have to win. They're still going to probably have to win out as well as their Big 12 conference in order to get into this thing. But they're staying relevant, and again, I think them staying relevant in this thing again is one of the better stories of the year on the collegiate level. But any comments, guys, from what you saw over the weekend? Anything that surprised you, or any thoughts on that before we move to the NFL?
Well, the only team, it was 2 teams that lost in the top 10. That was BYU and Tennessee.
Yeah, and BYU dropped 8.
So BYU is currently ranked number 13, right behind SMU.
Right.
No, BYU is 14, and SMU is 13.
Right.
and Tennessee basically just kind of kind of swapped with Georgia. Georgia's still ranked number 10, and Tennessee right behind them.
Yeah.
Tennessee was 6 or 7, but they're not going to put Georgia over Ole Miss or Alabama because they lost to them head to head.
Correct.
I'm surprised Miami is number 8 because of the loss they had versus Georgia Tech. I'm surprised they still ranked in the top 10 with that
Right.
one. SMU, Colorado, yes, they are currently on the outside of the tournament looking in, but they both control their own fate. They have to win their respective conference title, and they in there. And just to give people like a team like Boise State. Boise State is currently ranked number 12, but they are the 4th seed in the playoffs. And that all that was determined by the schools, basically these conferences. By okay, your winner gets an automatic bye.
Mhm.
So that the seeding as far as the top 4 are not due to the committee. That was done before the season even started.
Right.
But yeah, the only real thing, which I was surprised that one of the top 10 teams lost this week, and I think there's going to be some more that is going to, they're going to lose before the playoffs even start. That can really shake this thing up. So yeah, with BYU and Tennessee losing, BYU is currently they're completely out, but BYU was able to afford a loss.
Mhm.
If they still went out, they can go to the Big 12 title game and then
Right.
potentially meet up with Colorado, which I believe that will be a good game.
Very
So
good. Yeah, definitely. That'd be must see
if
TV.
Colorado loses, though, you got Iowa
It's
State
a-
right
yeah, it's a-
behind them,
Yeah.
so they can't afford a loss. So it's basically the rankings or the playoff rankings right now, they are projections until actually, obviously the final one after, what's that, 2 weeks from now. There's
Right.
still 2 more games on the slate. No, 3 more games. 2 more in the regular season plus conference titles for the conference that have them. So
Gotcha. Coach, any thoughts on anything that surprised you over the weekend? Pretty much status quo, or you
No, don't nothing surprise me. Like I said, the weather's going to start affecting a lot of these games that are played outside in the cold. So I am, just based off, records, I would like to see Colorado at least have a shot at getting into the playoff just because of the turnaround from last year. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I forget who they play this weekend, but I'm not surprised by some of the teams. Boise State surprises me because now they have a bye, and it's going to be interesting. These last, got 2 more weeks before the season's over with, so
yeah.
it could be a whole lot of changes, man. Because Georgia's still trying to fight for it. Alabama, you don't know what they're going to be like over the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, I'm excited for it, man. It's coming down to the wire. I think the playoff is going to bring even more excitement, to the game. So, who knows, man? We could have a whole new national champion of a team that never won it before. So, it's going to be cool.
Sounds
you
good.
know what I really like about these playoffs is I believe I mentioned this last week. The first 2 rounds, the higher seed is going to be able to
Plays at
host
home.
the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, and that's really why they expanded to these 12 teams. Maybe you will see a team, lightning strike, and a lower seed make their way up to the final 4. But usually by the time it gets to, that 3rd round, you pretty much just going to have the favorites in there. Not like really, it's not like college basketball, football. If the dominant team is majority, especially if it's a clear domination between a power school versus just another FBS school that happened to get in the playoffs. Like, I would like with Boise State, Ashton Gentle would get like a national stage because, he's up there in Idaho and they in the Mountain West. Nobody really know anything about him except the highlights you may see. But you put him in the playoffs and they get a national stage, yeah, he would get the attention. But if he happened to go against a team like Georgia or Iowa State, hell, he may not even have a good game. But I know he had a good game versus Oregon early in the year, but at least the school's going to get the money from it. That's why they really expanded it to this 12-team playoff, because it's going to help more schools than the 4 that was making it in. Because what you don't want to have, it's like karma. You remember when Florida State was in the runnings last year, and then their quarterback Jordan Travis, he got injured.
Right.
That greatly. Even though they was undefeated, the committee was like, nah, man, y'all lost our quarterbacks. That greatly, they didn't even make the playoffs. And they was in an uproar about that. The fans was in an uproar. And if you remember watching them, their defense was legit. Their offense sucked once Travis got injured. So they end up playing in a New Year's Six bowl game against Georgia. But Florida State, I guess they players, they all lost interest. A lot of them sat out. And they ended up getting killed by Georgia like 63-3.
Right.
So they got embarrassed. And in today's time, when young folks, especially the ones who are committed to your school, you get embarrassed like that on a national stage, they're going to decommit and go somewhere else.
Right. Now and it seems to be showing up because I'm trying to see and remember, and Coach, I don't know if you can recall in your lifetime a more precipitous fall of a program from almost just knocking on the door to get into the national championship the one year, and then the next year a total collapse. I'm trying to remember in recent times if I've ever seen that where a program's taken. I know programs, they've gotten the death penalty and stuff like that because of stuff, but nothing like this. Outside of something like that, where a program just went down like that, to the point where where do they go from here, or how they build back from this, or does the coach stay or whatever? But that's to me, it's still that's still a head scratcher to me. How you can have a program.
All the teams everybody left, everybody transferred, and I think even though the 12-team playoff was already in the making by the time last year's playoffs started, that situation. Say if the 12-team playoff existed last year, Florida State would have just still played, and everybody would have came back and played, and it would have been a whole lot. But what happened last year is the exact reason why this 12-team playoff exists today, because you have these, the players, they didn't make the top 4, in the playoffs. Everybody sits out, and unfortunately, that was an embarrassment of a bowl game, which was a high money bowl game. Mm-hmm. But if it was a 12, they still would have came. If you would have got beat, you would have got beat, but everybody would have been playing because they would all, believe they had a chance of winning the title. So that is the biggest benefit I see with this 12-team playoff.
Right. I mean, obviously, because even them finishing where they did, again, the lack of interest, as you said. Where again, at least you would think, okay, well, look, it used to be back in the past. We'd be like, all right, let's run it back.
Yeah,
we were almost there. Let's bring the band together again and let's try this thing again. But it's like that's the big thing. There is absolutely no loyalty or certainly no incentive unless you are thinking that, okay, I'm going to be in that top 4 or whatever. So again, hopefully we won't see a collapse like this again, that, more teams will stay, more players will feel that they have an opportunity to stay engaged with the programs that they're committed to. So, hopefully that would be certainly a benefit of this playoff. But moving on to the NFL. So again, there was a lot of hype, a lot of talk last week about this guy named Mr. Jackson. I was the only one on this panel last week that picked the Steelers to win the game. And nevertheless, it was still, people were talking about it might be a high-scoring affair because, again, the Ravens came in with this vaunted offense, and Lamar was almost a lock for the MVP this year. He's put up these great numbers. And again, they came in with that high scoring offense. We limited them without scoring a touchdown. We limited them to 16 points. And Lamar looked very pedestrian. They were supposed to have the missing piece in their running back, Derrick Henry. He was supposed to be the answer. He only got like 13 carries. And once again, the last 9 games, we won 8 of them. And Lamar is now 1-4 against the Steelers. And if you combine his record against, say, the Chiefs, not performing in the big game. So I'm asking all these Ravens fans, all these guys from that Baltimore, Washington area, what is going to be your excuse this time? Because every time you used to say, oh, well, you beat us when we were resting our players. We're already in the playoffs, so we're resting our players. Lamar was hurt or whatever. Again, what is going to be your excuse this time? And we got to start asking the question. Against these top these teams, and the Steelers, again, they're like marginally, at least over the last couple of years. I mean, it's like this year they're going to have a much more improved outcome, but marginally a playoff team. He can't get past them. He can't get past. He can't get past Kansas City. So again, what do you guys think that's going on with Lamar? Does he get the ips? In the big game, is it too much for him? I mean, what do you think the reasoning is why he can't get over this hump and beat these teams? I mean, they're against the mediocre teams, again, dominant, blows out everybody. Outside of conference, blows out everybody. But I know rivalry games can always be tough, and most of these Steelers games are typically decided by a touchdown or less. We get that. But this was supposed to be certainly a marked separation or difference between even the teams from last year. But we still got essentially the same outcome. So, Coach,
it fires every time. Every time they have a big game, the first thing they do is go away from the running game. They go away from what gets you there, and you can't. Lamar really hasn't proven itself to be a consistent passer per se. It's going to always hit the deep ball. It's always going to, what I'm saying? Sometimes he goes through those spits, but his greatest asset is being able to have a balanced attack with the running game. And they go away from the running game. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to run the ball. Even if you get into – that's why I don't understand coaches sometimes. If I can pick up 2 or 3 yards on first down, that's a win. I'm not going to pass the ball on first down early in the game. We running the ball. First down, we running the ball. I'd rather get 2 or 3 yards running the ball than to throw a lateral pass and lose 2 or 3 yards. It makes no sense. Now I'm behind the count. Always run the ball. Man against man. If I get 2 yards, cool. I can get that 3 times. That's 9 yards. I mean, then I
seemed like that was thrown off because, again, first play of the game, Derrick Henry fumbles.
But just because he's fumbled, man, I'm coming.
I get it. I'm just saying, but that seemed to be enough to get them off the game plan because
it's bad coaching. I'm telling you, bad coaching. I got a power runner. I'm running the ball. You fumble. Come on, let me talk to you, man. Hold on to the ball. We're gonna run your ass all day. You're gonna get 25 carries at least. That's football. Now, being a fan, I can understand, but I'm a running back first. I'm gonna run the ball. I'm gonna give you 20 carries. 25 carries. I don't care. That will at least allow us to have a balanced attack. I can throw in the play action. I can do whatever I need to do. But it's like the whole fourth quarter, they abandoned the run completely. 13 carries for the game. Come on, man. He gets stronger as the game goes on. You can't drop back. Watt? That's all they want you to do is drop back and pass. They come in full head of steam. But again, it's always going to happen as long as they start passing the ball and getting away from the run. The leading rushing team in the league, man, we running the ball. So it is what it is, man. It's going to happen again when they start passing the ball. So,
and look, we're going to get into these December months, so they better figure it out. But Shawnee, again, so we got the coach. He's not going to lay this at the feet of Mr. Jackson. So it's the coaching staff or whatever. What do you say? Is there something to this? In the biggest moments, he has these great regular seasons, 2-time MVP. dominant offense, but he looks, again, very pedestrian, certainly against the Steelers and against the elite, the echelon teams in the NFL. So, how much do you put this on Jackson? How much do you put on the coach or the weather? What? I mean, you had Justin Tucker miss 2 field goals, whereas our guy Boswell 6 for 6, 3 of them over 50 yards, long as a 57-yard, nailing it. Tucker's supposed to be this Hall of Fame kicker. So again, it's just something about. So where are you laying the blame here on the Ravens? And are we going to hold Mr. Jackson, as he's referred to, accountable to say, look, bro, you got to get it done?
Yeah, going real quick to the Henry thing. He fumbled that very first carry, and then you notice the very next series, Baltimore got the ball. It was Justice Hill in the backfield with Jackson instead of Henry. So I guess that was that was his first time fumbling in over 500 carries, but I guess they took away a snap from him for a couple of times. But yeah, with Jackson and his struggles versus team, especially with the Steelers and the Chiefs, I really don't know. Obviously, it's a good game plan. Obviously, they both have a good game plan versus him, and he just can't. They able to. It's Spagnolia and who is the Steelers defensive coordinator?
Geez, just had a brain freeze here. It'll come to me in a minute, but
I'm trying to see if he's always been the defense.
No, he was an assistant. He was like I think a position coach, and he got promoted up. So they didn't. It's not like they went out there.
He was already in.
He was already in the
okay.
Austin.
Okay, so basically he was there when he knows the game plan on the best way how to limit Jackson, and he's also just executing. He's getting his defense now. He's making the calls now for Jackson. I think both teams, because what's his name was huge. Patrick Queen was huge.
Yeah, that was the revenge games. Look, y'all didn't want to sign me, so that was he was on the revenge tour then. Absolutely, he was a beast.
Both teams have real good pass rushers and solid linebacker play to keep Jackson. I guess I don't want to say in check, but I guess based on his lack of success, you almost have to say that. And my whole thing is because until this point, people were saying that Lamar Jackson was the clear MVP, and my whole thing is, I definitely saw it last year being a Cowboys fan, and Dak was playing MVP ball until he had that bad game versus 49ers. Because you remember, Lamar won MVP, but his first MVP season had way better numbers than he did his second MVP. He almost won his second MVP by default because everybody who was in front of him kept losing big games. It was Dak who lost against the 49ers. They took him out. Purdy was the favorite at one time, but then they had a big loss versus the Ravens, and Jackson took over. That's why last year I thought it was any time last year for a non-QB to win the award, it would have been last year, but they still give it to Jackson. But with Dak, the way he was playing, he ultimately finished the year with better numbers than Jackson, even though Jackson won the MVP. But because of his loss and what he losing the big game, that was the reason he fell down.
Right.
Jackson, he didn't look that great versus the Steelers. And there's other, now and Allen looked good versus the Chiefs. And there's other players who shown. So now you got to look, okay, is Jackson going? Are you going to? Because he has 4 losses now. His team has 4 losses. So.
Yeah, and again, those other 2 losses, he lost against the Raiders, who are 2-8, and he lost against the Browns, who are also 2-8. So again, he's had some, inexcusable, if you're gonna be that dude.
Yeah.
I think he might have taken himself out of the running because I don't see. I mean, the best they can do is 13-4. That means they got to win out. So I can't see if you could even consider him a current MVP candidate with that many losses. And again, they're going to meet the Steelers again, and certainly they're going to have some tougher games that are going to be coming up in the future. So I don't think it's a given. But this is supposed to be a somewhat improved team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got the running back that you were missing. That he was supposed to be again the missing piece, and yet you're still struggling in these big games, and even the games that you're expected to win, you're still struggling in to an extent. So I don't know what's going to again, is it just again, is it the coaching? How much you putting on the coaching? How much you putting on the player?
By this time, you have to put on the player because it's a habit. He struggled versus these teams. I mean, coaching can only do so much, but it's the players on the field that have to make the plays. And you can call the perfect plays, but if a player don't execute, I mean, you saw that several times with the Bears last year with Justin Fields, but I have to look at Jackson now because it's an every year thing now. It's just eventually, they gave you this basically Hall of Fame running back now.
Yeah.
And you still have, you lost to a team that didn't score an offensive touchdown. They didn't even score a touchdown. It just beat
right.
Field
Yeah.
goals.
Right.
And the Ravens scored 2 touchdowns, but I mean,
that last one, I'm throwing that last one. That was like, last minute again, that's why I hate prevent defense. Again, prevent defense gets you beat.
That 2-point conversion basically was the perfect illustration of how that game went. I don't know what that play was called. He just ran towards the sideline.
And to coach's point, Derrick Henry wasn't even in the game. I mean, at least you want him in there to give a different look. At the Steelers have to think about, we need to watch out for him as well. But so yeah, I mean, I think certainly there's some coaching at play, but I think certainly with all the spotlight being on him again, especially with the losses against inferior teams this year, certainly he's going to have a lot to prove. Certainly as we go on, and if they don't meet expectations here, then I think it's really going to tarnish him. So hopefully he can turn it around. I want nothing but good for him, except against the Steelers. But that being said, definitely a big win for the Steelers. Obviously, again, we got this game. Everyone's calling it a trap game because we play the Browns tomorrow. So they're saying this is the perfect game for us to lose. So again, no trap game. I think everyone's saying and doing the right thing. So hopefully we'll keep the momentum going. But it's in Cleveland again. Any AFC North game again. Cleveland did beat Baltimore, as we said earlier, and Jameis. Say what you want about him, but he's a gunslinger. He can throw for 4 TDs in the game just as easily. He can throw for 4 interceptions. So again, I'm not going to sleep on him because he can definitely throw the football. But again, hopefully they can keep this momentum going. But it's a very tight race now in the AFC because again, obviously Buffalo beat for the first time beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Buffalo. So now the Chiefs at 9-1. Buffalo and Pittsburgh at 8-2. So this is going to be a dogfight. I know Pittsburgh plays Kansas City on Christmas Day. So obviously, people talk about seeding. They're talking about, first round bye. So this is definitely going to be a very competitive stretch. And I'm not even sure. Now, again, I picked Kansas City to 3-peat. All right. I did that at the beginning of the season. But one thing that I was not expecting, and we're going to get into this conversation about who are the best teams, certainly in the AFC and the NFC. I got to tell you, I was not expecting this out of the AFC West. San Diego, I know we beat them, but that was like earlier in the year. I wouldn't want to play them again right now. And I don't know if, Kansas City, they're going to have to deal with them. And then all of a sudden you got Denver. Certainly, they're at 6-5. They're right in the mix as well. So, it's looking right now, at least in the AFC, the NFC West might be the best division in the NFL. The only division I'm thinking of that may compete with that is the NFC Central, because again, you got obviously Detroit, who's like NFC North. Excuse me. Because see, that's how old I am. See, back in the day we used to say NFC. So that I just show my age. I go back to the 80s, man. So
that's baseball too.
Absolutely. So obviously with Detroit at top, they're beating up on these teams. The margin of victory is definitely dominant. But again, Minnesota's still in there, and then Green Bay, they're also at 7-3. So questions on the floor is, who do you think is the best team? Still, if you were to rank them in the AFC and the NFC. And second question is, who has the toughest conference in football right now? Is it the NFC North or the AFC West? Because I thought everyone was coming into the season thinking that, well, the AFC North was going to be dominant with Cincinnati, but they fell off. Cleveland, obviously, there was a problem, but you have, and even I got to say with the Bears, they're 2 games away from being 6-4. They lost the last game. Last minute. There was a blocked field goal. And then obviously we all know the Hail Mary pass, the tip ball for the touchdown. So the Bears, say what you want about Caleb Williams and the dysfunction, the coaching, and whether or not this guy, Eberflus should be around. But they're literally 2 plays away from being 6-4. And so, so those are the questions on the floor, gentlemen. Best team in either conference, or if you want to rank them, top 3 teams in either conference, and toughest conference. Sean, you go first, and then we'll bring the coach in.
Well, best team, and I have a conference with the NFC North. I say the AFC West is the tougher conference. I think the Chiefs and the Lions, they basically push. I think if they happen to see each other, I give the edge to the Chiefs just because of their defense. I think their defense can. If you watch you're not expecting them to throw 5 turnovers. You didn't have 5 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watch, remember that Lions Texans game, the Texans defense actually gave the Lions fits.
Yeah.
It's just the Lions playmakers ultimately showed up at the end of the game. And
Right.
Stroud, at the time, he didn't have no playmakers besides his running back, and he lost his 2 receivers. And you saw that as the game went on. With KC has a better defense or more consistent defense than the Texans, and I believe they can. The thing about with the Lions, they use a running game to set up everything, and the Chiefs defense, they can pretty much kind of challenge that. So then you go, okay, so that's basically like a push. Then you go to the next top. You got the Vikings, who are what, 8-2,
8-2, yeah.
versus the Chargers. And even though the Vikings have a better record, the Chargers are the hotter team. It just feels like with the Vikings, you just waiting for that shoe to fall off.
Yeah.
With Sam
I
Darnold.
agree,
You just
yeah.
we
Yeah,
don't
I'm not
know what
even-
to expect with Darnold.
Even when they were 5-0, I still was like, obviously they were a surprise team. I didn't get the sense that it was like that was like a legit 5-0. You know what I mean? I just thought that they were.
got a good defense and they playing good football, but you're like, okay, wait until I don't even think they played the Lions yet. And of course, right now that's the ultimate litmus test in the NFC. And so I will probably give the edge to the Chargers because, and this is the thing, and I say
Actually,
this,
they did play. They lost 31-29
versus the Lions.
to the Lions, and they got.
I think I remember
yeah.
that game.
Yeah.
Division games, you throw records out the book. Man. They know each other real good.
They actually played the Lions last game of the season.
Yeah. So this is, and on other internet stuff, I always say this. I'm glad that fans don't run teams because fans will give up on a player after 1 year. And man, they just want to, hell, after 2 years. And I remember if you kept it, even though they on the West Coast, at the time they was in San Diego, now they're in LA. If there's any team that is constantly going under the radar due to lack of attention, it's the Chargers.
Right.
They just nobody pays attention to them. Hell, they don't even get that much attention in LA right now.
Right.
They just happen to be the team that shares stadium with the Rams.
Right.
And
Well, I always thought they had talent. I thought what shot them in the last few years is the coaching. Remember that coach would go on it constantly on fourth and 3 on their own end. Yeah, we going for it. I mean, they shot themselves in the foot so many times. So Harbaugh is not going to do that. So again, they got a competent coach. They already got, I think, the talent at QB. So yeah, I think they're going to be a dangerous
at the time,
out.
People were saying, and I just Herbert, he was overrated. And just like you said, it was this coach who kept doing all this stuff.
Absolutely.
So if you listen to the fans, he overrated. The Chargers need to find another quarterback. And I'm like, it's amazing how a head coaching change all of a sudden flipped the switch with a QB. Because if you watch the game, you could clearly see that Justin Herbert has the QB talent and the skill set to be a good NFL quarterback. Like you said, many games of his loss because his coach is just the ultimate gambler, and they kept losing.
Yeah.
So now you put him in a more competent head coach. Now you're seeing the results from it.
Exactly.
And so that's what I'm saying. I'm glad fans don't run teams because after one bad season, next thing you know, they firing everybody.
Got you.
So going on all that, then you got the third teams of each conference with the Packers and the Broncos. Now the Broncos are the surprising team to me. Nobody expect them to be like this. Bo Nix has been playing.
Yeah, he balled out last four TDs this last game. He's balling out. Yeah.
And that defense. I know we were just talking about the Chiefs' defense. The Broncos are better. So you put them versus the Packers team. They defense can keep them at bay. And plus, I don't know off the top of my head, but last time I heard Love, he showing too much love to the opposing team. He getting some turnovers over there. So you don't want to do that with the Broncos. So that's why I give the lead to AFC West because they deeper and they have defense on multiple teams.
Right. Yeah, and I think that that's going to factor in as far as the rest of the way. No one's going to be wrestling about it. This is going to be a dogfight to the end. I think that if those guys smell blood in the water from the Chiefs, because again, the Chiefs we've seen, they found ways to win, but they haven't looked impressive. But then you got these two teams that are sort of on the come up. So again, now who would you as far as each in the AFC? Is your ranking still Chiefs, Buffalo, Steelers, or some other mix? Who's the best team you think in the AFC right now? Or was it like the Chargers? Like I said, the Chargers. You may make a case for them. Who do you think is the best?
Just off the top three, because I don't have the standings in front of me yet, but I know the Bills just beat the Chiefs, but I'm going to have to go Chiefs, Steelers, Bills. Mm-hmm. And though it's a hair separating the three, because I believe any one of them could beat each other.
Yeah.
Only thing about if you playing against the Chiefs, you have to beat them.
Yeah.
You can't as soon as you make a mistake, they got you.
Yeah.
So that's why I give them the edge. Even in the game, in the Ravens Steelers game, Russ had a bad interception in the end zone.
Right.
But they were still able to overcome that because their defense was able. It's like if you do that with the Chiefs, you lost.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. Coach, what are your thoughts again? So questions: best conference in the NFL right now, toughest conference in the NFL, and again, where do you rank the teams? In fact, since Shawnee took the AFC, I'll have you take the NFC. Best teams in the NFC right now, like your top three. How you ranking them?
NFC North. I would go with the NFC North just because Chicago's in the games towards the end. They just don't pull it out, and right now that whole conference can go down to the end. Even with Chicago, the Raiders just are the Raiders, and they sort of do it in for the AFC West to me. But I think the NFC North, where we got 6 games left, it could change at any point. I think Chicago still plays Green Bay a couple of times, and they play real close. It's gonna go down to the wire. Chicago, they always in the game, even though they're in last place in the division. Then you have Green Bay. They've yet to have that breakout game, that high scoring game. Of course, we know Detroit is always,
It's
you know,
21 hours.
going to get you 25 to 30 points. And Minnesota, I think they found the recipe. I think they found it for success. So, just for that, I give it a slight edge over the AFC West. Of course, Kansas City, they might go on another 3 or 4 game winning streak, but they better hope and pray that they have no major injuries to any of their stars. None. They'll be done. As far as the rankings in the NFC, of course, I would go Detroit. It's really wonky. It's almost like Detroit, Minnesota. I forget who else is in the NFC.
Well, you got Philadelphia's leading the East at 8-2.
I would go Detroit, Philly, Minnesota.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I must say, shout out to BMU, right? New Orleans won 2 in a row, and they're only 2 games out of first, and Atlanta got shellacked, right?
By the Broncos. So, hey, there's still live dogs in that division. So don't give up your you said Detroit, Kansas City Super Bowl. I thought you've been saying all year that New Orleans was going to the Super Bowl. Now I'm trying to give your team some love and get them some support and get behind you, and you just bailed on your team. So you bailed on your own team before I did. So shame on you, BMU, for the lack of loyalty to your to New Orleans Saints. One thing that I am also looking at, I mean, the NFC West, you might have a team go under 500. I mean, 6-4 Cardinals, and then everyone's 5-5. So again, that's going to be a very competitive division to certainly round out that. Yes, absolutely, could tell he's flip flopping 100%. But that's going to be a very competitive race as well. But yeah, I would certainly say for the AFC, I would certainly put the AFC West. Because again, I don't. If I'm a team right now, I don't want to play any of them. Whereas, like I said, Minnesota and Green Bay, those teams don't scare me. But I think the Broncos and the Chargers, again, they're going to be dangerous for anybody. And if I had to rank the teams coming out, I would definitely, I would probably still put KC at the top, but I'll put the Steelers number 2, and I will put the Bills again at number 3. But then again, Chargers and Broncos, they're bringing up the rear, and so I think we're really going to be in for a very exciting. These last 6 games, playoff implications for every game, and also seeding for every game. So no one's going to be resting their starters, right? You're not going to have that, that sort of thing towards the end of the season. So all these games are going to be meaningful, and hopefully, as we start out the show, Netflix. Again, with 60 million viewers, you were bombing out. NFL, they already put the warning up to you. You better not mess up our Christmas Day with people struggle seeming to watch these games. So this is going to be your test. I'm still trying to figure out what the benefit to the NFL is, because I know you get, like I said, based on subscription. I know with the live TV, you're getting the advertising and everything. So I don't know what the business model is, like what the streaming services are offering for live entertainment that you wouldn't get from the networks. So I'm still don't know what the profit incentive is for the NFL to take such a drastic move. And again, just especially as holidays, free TV. I mean, that's, you would think that you have a lot of viewers or whatnot, for those games. So hopefully it works out for them. But again, I still struggling somewhat with the business model. And if it actually would work in that situation. But coming up towards the end here. So again, now I typically, for me, honestly, guys, I don't get into the NBA until like after football season. But I do want to put a little bit of shine on the NBA. Obviously, again, I haven't watched a ton of games. But I know the Cleveland Cavaliers are off to this rocket start, 15-1, which I don't think that's even happened even in the LeBron years. Never saw that coming, and I think the Celtics just handed them, I think, their first loss of the year.
but they're getting out pretty fast and whatnot. Donovan Mitchell, obviously, we all know about him, but they seem to find a formula that's working. So, just off the top, Sean, do you think this is sustainable? You think this is just they're going to come back down to earth? Is it early yet in the NBA season to be taking a look at these guys? But what are your impressions so far from what you've seen of Cleveland and their rapid start?
Well, they just even though they just lost their first game versus the Celtics yesterday, they showed a lot. I think they was down 3 of their starters or something like that. So they still showed a lot. I heard when I be hearing about them, they're smaller because they led by 2 kind of smaller guards.
Yeah.
Not, but they're a good team, and they head coach Kenny Atkinson. Remember, he was the head coach of the Nets before when Durant, Kyrie went up there, but then they basically chose to get rid of him for Steve Nash. And I believe Atkinson is the better coach. Obviously, it's Nash. I don't even know if he's coaching anywhere right now.
Right.
And so I think it kind of remind me of when the Sacramento Kings got hot. I think like 2 years ago when Mike Brown, and then OKC was hot last year. It's basically when a team, because you saw signs of Cleveland even last year. You saw signs of them improving a lot, and that was the reason why they changed coach from J.B. Bickerstaff, because they wanted just the next coach, I believe, that just put them over the top. So it doesn't surprise me. Obviously you wasn't expecting them to go undefeated for the first 15 games, but to me last year they were showing that they say Cowboys Super Bowl champions and Cowboys. I mean they actually, there was a stat I saw before the show that Texans Cowboys game. I don't know if y'all saw the pictures. It was people. The stadium was not filled up. It was
Right.
gaps. But
they haven't won this year, right? They're like 0-4 on their home games.
They lost every game this year at home, and then I think all the games they lost, including the playoff game last year,
And by wide margins.
over 20 points.
Yeah. It's like, it's like, why show
and
up?
This is immediately coming off where they won 16 straight at home.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a house of horrors right now. But even though it was no people, it was a whole lot of Texans fans there. It was still like the second most viewed game, I think, in Monday Night Football history, something like that. The season, something like that. It was up there. So it's on. Maybe people wasn't at the stadium, but they damn sure was watching from home. Even when the Cowboys, you already know they don't have nobody. You got a backup quarterback, but people still want to see them suffer. But yeah, going back to the NBA, yeah, I was not expecting them to start off 15-0, but they were, because like I say, it's reminding me of OKC last year, and you can see OKC is a good team again this year. It's like once some young teams, once you see it clicking, it clicks for them, and then they go about the business. Now I know also one story now is, I don't know if y'all was following the whole Sixers and they with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid.
Right.
And apparently Embiid is being late, showing up late to everything.
Right. Right.
And it's reminded because their president over there is Daryl Morey. It's reminded me of when he was the GM of the Rockets and the favoritism and all this that James Harden had with Houston.
Right.
It just, that really didn't show up until the latter years before Harden left the Rockets, before they traded him. Mm-hmm. But it was the same thing. Harden was just, he was not, special privilege was given to him.
Right, right.
So
what was the general view on Morey, certainly as a GM in Houston? I mean, obviously
we loved him because he was aggressive. He made moves. I mean, think about it. Once he realized the Rockets was able to contend, be a potential contenders, he went and got the trade well, not the trade, the free agent signing of Dwight Howard, which was huge at the time, and it was working. Unfortunately, it was a huge shot by Dame Lillard in the playoffs versus the Trailblazers that sent them home early. But reason Howard wasn't on because, Howard wanted to be more featured in the offense. And even though Howard came back to the front office like, okay, I will do whatever's needed to, stay on the team or whatnot, because I believe Harden influence was like he wanted Howard gone. So that's why they get Howard. Then the very next season, they bring in Chris Paul. And you saw immediate improvement. So he was doing things. He was aggressive, with trying to build a contending roster, because this was during the Warriors juggernaut period, and they was trying to find a formula to beat the Warriors, and they almost did. I think out of any team in the NBA during this whole juggernaut of the Warriors, the Rockets challenged them the best, and then all of a sudden it fell off when he traded Paul for Westbrook and all that, and then the next year, and he was kind of doing the same thing with the Sixers. He made some trade. He made the big trade to get Harden, bring him back, because everybody wanted Ben Simmons gone. And for whatever reason, he was able to find a fool with the Nets and traded Simmons to them. So, and then, so he, as a front office dude, he goes about players. He will work to bring in big names to the team. Now, sometimes he is too big name focused. He just throw big names into the mix and just think they're just going to mesh well together. But he also shows favoritism to his star players, though.
So let's be real then. The only thing he does, he folds under the pressure. The media start talking about, oh, this would be a great addition to the team. Then next thing you know, he's making a deal. He's giving up major, picks and a lot of, just to bring in a certain player. We all know Embiid, listen, he's going to ruin himself in Philly. The crowd is already, the fans are already starting to come back.
Yeah. And they're 2-11, last in the division. So, I mean,
he's pushing, reporters. He's going to eventually going. I give him maybe this year to redeem himself. But if he doesn't show that he can at least take them deep in the playoffs, I look at him to start to being, just a trade commodity around the league. There's a lot of good young players coming in with the experience, because now players are staying a little longer in college. And Philadelphia is going to have to at least make it to the second round of the playoffs. Right now, they might not even be in the playoffs. Just even with Milwaukee, with Doc Rivers, this might be his last go round if Milwaukee doesn't get it together. But Embiid just needs to be quiet, focus on playing the game at a high level. Don't worry about the fans, because he get caught up in the fans. But that's just part of sports. The fans are going to come at you, especially if they're paying good money and you're not showing up.
Especially Philly.
So just roll with it. Don't get caught up in it. But he got maybe the end of this year and next year before they just look to pass him on to someone else. But because they won Paul George and they're not winning. Embiid, he's choking out reporters in the locker room, so they can get tired of that real quick. So
yeah.
I think Sixers need to get to the NBA Finals.
Okay,
they don't have no more room to fall short, because Embiid, I said this last year, I think they need to start building around Maxey, because Embiid right now is just a notch below Kawhi Leonard. They are never healthy in the playoffs. You can say whatever you want. At least Embiid, he playing the regular season, and he may potentially challenge for an MVP. But hell, we was talking about Lamar Jackson earlier. What good is an MVP if all of a sudden in the postseason your team keeps taking these early exits? And with Embiid,
but at least with Embiid, you can say it's due to injury. Lamar, what's the issue? Yeah. It's definitely not injury. So it's also all the more so. What to that first question, what is going on with him? that he's not able to perform, and so again, it might be more in his head than it is anything physical. But I must say, just out the gate, just two more things on the NFL as we wrap up the show. Very surprised at the start with Golden State. They still got the old guys, Green and Curry, still contributing there at first place in the West. And then, of course, we have the ageless LeBron James. I think he had last week 3 triple doubles, something like that. So I think we asked a question last week about who's going to be the new face of the NBA. But how can you do that when, again, one, you got some of these guys who are injured going into the season, and LeBron just keeps putting up these type of numbers. So the Lakers, it seems like they're staying relevant also. So it's so Curry and LeBron are still carrying the NBA at this point. So for all these young guys who are supposed to be the next, I don't know when you guys are gonna you're gonna have to take take the reins if you want to be the face of the NBA. But certainly as long as Curry and LeBron, as long as they're gonna put up these entertaining games and still be relevant, we're gonna get more of it. But definitely very surprised. I thought the Warriors, they would be like a bottom feeder team just with age and attrition and whatnot, but they're still putting together a winning basketball program. Well, and so they're going to be forced to be reckoned with.
I wish Tommy was here because he probably definitely have more insight on the Warriors. But I think the Warriors, as much as they love Klay Thompson, it's almost like addition by subtraction because their younger players now stepping up, and I believe they playing deep. I believe they playing they have like a 10-man rotation going on. So they playing deep, and you seeing the young players just taking full advantage of this opportunity. Yeah. So and with Buddy Hield, who is definitely I think he's the second leading scorer on the team.
Yeah, he's no different than Klay. He's no different.
Exactly.
Him and Klay about the same to me. With stuff on the team.
Klay is obviously his name is bigger, but Hield, as far as how Klay was kind of I guess you could say a decline in his past couple of years with Golden State. Hield is now, he's showing, more.
He's kind of coming into his prime because I think he was with Sacramento last prior year, right?
So it's definitely they leading the West right now at 10-3. So they
exactly, like I said, I wasn't expecting that out the gate, but they're doing very well at this point. And again, we'll all see, getting out to these fast starts, just given their age and whatnot, can they keep it up for the rest of the year? I think a team like Cleveland. Again, they're a young team, and certainly, again, they had some of the starters that were out, but they may be certainly the story for the year. We'll see if again Golden State, if they can keep it up and keep it moving. But just want to switch real quick back to the NFL. Again, some of the key matchups that I'm seeing for this coming weekend. So obviously, you have some divisional. Games. Got the Cardinals and Seattle. Like I said, one game separates those guys coming up. Then you also have Eagles and the Rams. Again, the Rams, they've been playing better, obviously, with Stafford getting back his wide receivers. That offense seems to be clicking, so that's going to be a major test. And then the biggest game is going to be, I think, Monday night, Ravens and Chargers. We talked about the Chargers are surging. And whether or not Lamar can he get over, the hump? Can he, can he? And this is a home game for the Chargers. So imagine, if the Ravens, if they lose out again, then they're looking at making the playoffs. Can they get in as a potential wild card? I think you could almost kiss the division goodbye at that point, and then it's going to be just a question of will they even get into the dance at that point in time. So just real quick, if you guys want to preview those 3 games, who do you like? Start with the Cardinals and Seahawks. Coach, who you like in that one?
I like the Cardinals in that game. The Seahawks, they up and down. They haven't been consistent. The Cardinals have been playing pretty consistent. I think they finding out they have at least somewhat of a balanced attack. And, they seem to stick with what they do best. What was the Ravens? The Ravens again.
So right, Ravens. So the Ravens are at the Chargers Monday night.
The Ravens have to run the ball. They have to run the ball. I don't care if Derrick Henry ends the game with 60 yards rushing, but he needs to have 20 to 25 carries. He has to. That's the only way they're going to open up the options of the receivers and Lamar. If they don't, if, just going to be the same game as you saw last week. But they have to run the ball. The teams that have success, they run the ball.
Yeah. And then the last one was Eagles Rams. This is a home game for the Rams. So again, that you like the Eagles? Okay.
Yeah, the Eagles, the Rams. Eagles are going to stay consistent. I think their biggest issue is going to be their head coach. But if they stick with what they do, if both receivers are playing, give the ball to Barkley, let him run the ball, and hopefully the defensive backs show up because the Rams will throw the ball around. So, but I'll take the Eagles.
Yeah, and shout out to Barkley. I mean, I know we talked about the fast start that Derrick Henry had, but I think Barkley's like second in the league. They both have 197 carries. Barkley has 1,137 yards. Derrick Henry 1,185. So they're going to be, that they're going back and forth for that rushing title. But Shawnee, your picks between those three games: Cardinals, Eagles.
My one I'm really Cardinals, Eagles. I got the Cardinals. The Ravens, Chargers. I have. And I was just talking about the Chargers.
You were just hyping them up. Now it's like
because I understand, because it's not about the Ravens' defense. They defense is suspect this year,
right.
But that offense is a landslide. Like if that offense hit, it's gonna be a long day for you. And I know the Chargers' defense is playing good right now. They playing hot. You know what? Hell with it. I'm going with the Chargers because they're playing at home. And the way Herbert is playing right now, I think he's going to take advantage of the Baltimore secondary. And that could be the great equalizer. If they can contain Henry, I think I give the edge to if it's a shootout, I may have to give the edge to the Ravens because then that means their running game is clicking and they're going to control the clock. So we had to see about that. And I said the Cardinals, and what was that third game?
Eagles and the Rams. So Eagles are at the Rams.
I think that's gonna be a sneaky good game because the Rams got both of their receivers back.
Correct. That's why I'm bringing it up. Yeah.
So if Barkley, and I know past couple of years, everybody, the rave has been the receivers and the quarterback, air raid. I think this year, you saw it last year. You saw it coming back last year, but this year it's official. Running game, like, damn all that, we still here. You see all these good teams right now. What's the one thing they have in common? They have a damn good running game. And, you can have these teams that want to air it out, but that air it out is only going to get you so far. And then once you play these teams with a running game, a lot of times the teams with a good running game also have a good passing game because they set up with the run. So that run game is coming big. So that's that's what I may give the edge to Philly because Barkley he's showing out this year. He's showing out. I'm happy because I got him and Henry in my fantasy squad. So
nice.
I got Henry in one league. The other league, I have Barkley and Joe Mixon, and they just eating people alive over there.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I got the Eagles in that game.
I hear you. I'm
and
picking.
Truth be told, it may be more Eagles fans at that stadium.
That is very true. Yeah, that is there's no home field in LA at all. So. But having said that, again, I'm just looking at the Rams. I'm going to pick them for the upset. That's going to be my upset pick, the Rams over them. I'm also, I think I agree with Coach on the Seahawks. They're a little bit too inconsistent up and down, so I'll pick the Cardinals to win that one. But I'm telling you, I got to go with the Chargers, man. I mean, that defense, certainly those guys are playing, very competitive on defense, and I think Herbert's playing much better. there. And again, I think you may have to get, and this is going to be brother versus interesting. This is brother versus brother, right? Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. So again, and I don't know if Jim forgive his brother for beating him in the Super Bowl. So he's going to have some motivation in this one as well. So I'm picking them. And again, if the Ravens lose, then they're going to have some serious questions about it's just going to be a struggle for them just to get into the playoffs, especially like I said, when you have those teams in the West with Denver and Chargers going to be certainly ahead of them in the rankings. So they might be on the outside looking in unless they can certainly turn this thing around. So definitely some good games coming up this weekend. So we're at the end of the show. Again, we appreciate you guys for joining us tonight. Again, all we ask is shout out to Red Planet Photography. Thank you for stopping by tonight. Just make sure that you hit the like button as you come into as you leave tonight. Certainly helps the algorithm. And again, for our brother Dante, again, take care of what you need to take care of, bro. Praying for you and your fam. And hopefully we'll see you certainly on the next show. But for Coach Ferg, for Shawnee and myself, this has been the One-on-One Sports Show on the BMD Network. You guys take care. Have a great week. Go Steelers tomorrow night against the Browns. And certainly, until we see you next time, take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.
Coach Prime is not coming to the NFL. he's staying where he's at. I don't know how much time that man keeps trying to tell y'all that.
But that video was hilarious, though. The one I sent you guys sent you earlier. The impression.
I was like, that was a hell of an impressionator.
That was crazy. But you guys have a great night. Take care.
All right, peace.
Bye.
All right, guys, another one in the books. Another great episode on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Listen, we're doing the thing over here. So, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Also, if you want to donate to the channel, which helps the channel, hit your boy Cash App. It's scrolling right here, right there, at the bottom of the screen. And support the channel. But we're happy that you're here, and we look forward to seeing you on every episode. So hit the notification button so you know when we go live. Thank you again, guys, for watching. We out.